This is part one. Part two, I will be breaking down part one with the scriptures. Remember, apply biblical history to reality and see if they line up.
I know who Bigfoot is. Okay, I was watching a documentary on Discovery Channel, and they said that Bigfoot had human teeth. Kid you not. They said that he's like made from human. And when I think about it, I think about the Bible and Esau. If you read it, it says that Esau lived in the woods. Kid you not. And his brother Jacob was smooth skin, and he lived in tents. And tents relates to homes to me, like houses, and freaking the woods. Like he said that he lived in the woods. His brother Esau lived in the woods. I think he was a vegetarian. And on top of that, he was hairy. Like a garment. Like if you look at it, if you read the Bible story, he had hair all over his body. Like his father, he was a blind man. And he had to basically put up some sheepskin to match his hair on his skin. So basically, Esau's very hairy, okay? So I think he's Bigfoot, or the race of Bigfoot people. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting. So, yeah. Bye.
What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about?
And gentlemen, welcome to the channel. Please subscribe with notifications on.
On the ground, there was a footprint. A big footprint. So I was hooked from that moment on. I started spending all the time I could spare searching for the beast, and I spent time I couldn't spare. That's how I lost my job and my friends.
So sad.
Well, I didn't tell it so you could cry in your sprouts or whatever that is, darling. I'm telling it so that your father won't make the same mistake.
Well, I appreciate what you're saying, Dr. Wrightwood, but there's a big difference between your story and mine.
Not as big as you think.
Maybe even bigger.
No, you're kidding yourself. I remember what you told me when you came into my shop. Bigfoot can come live with us. We'll accept the responsibility. Can you imagine what a Bigfoot would do to your home? Yeah, well, I can. You're good people. I'm going to say this once. I'm going to say it simple. And I hope to God, for your sakes, you all listen. There are no abominable snowmen. There are no Sasquatches. There are no big feet. Am I missing something? Oh, Lord God.
Dr. Wrightwood, say hello to Harry.
I am your father.
Isn't he something?
An unassuming building in the North Georgia mountains. Georgia mountains is new ground zero in the search for Bigfoot. This gentleman, David, I'll just call him Bigfoot. David Bigfoot has put his passion for the legendary creature on display at Expedition Bigfoot, the Sasquatch Museum. I was on their website, so I just saw a couple articles online. It looks like it's been open, but finally got some press coverage, I guess. But the website was, right on the website, it said, it's the glory of God to conceal a thing, but the honor of kings to search out a matter. That's Proverbs 25:2. So, is Bigfoot in the Bible?
Yeah.
Sasquatch is in the Bible.
Yeah.
I didn't...
What is it? It's the honor of God? What?
It's the glory of God
to hide
to
monsters.
conceal.
To hide monsters.
To hide...
in plain sight.
Forest monsters.
But it's
the honor of kings
to reveal them.
G'day, my name's Todd Standing. I am from the website sylvanic.com. What I'm doing right now, what we are doing is we're gathering evidence to us. We're working with fingerprint experts, we're working with geneticists. If you've seen a Sasquatch, if you have evidence of a Sasquatch, please contact us. We're gathering all the evidence we can. You're going to find out why that is very shortly. This little segment was done by Doug Hasek, brilliant, amazing filmmaker. What he did with the Patterson-Gimlin film, which is tremendous evidence, was just totally amazing. That's what this documentary is about. It's a documentary by Doug Hasek, and it's starring one of my heroes, Bob Gimlin. What an incredible, amazing, brilliant man. I have so much respect for him. After meeting him and talking with him, he's just really changed my life. I had no idea he was such a powerhouse, such an icon, such an excellent representative of this subject. So, yeah, an amazing, amazing guy. I'm 99.9% certain that the Patterson-Gimlin film is real. Here's his testimony. Here's this amazing guy. And again, Doug Hasek's done a brilliant job. This is from about 10, 15 years ago, but it's still an excellent documentary. I know that since this documentary's been done, there's been lots of people claiming the Patterson-Gimlin film is faked. And I was even at a point where I was almost convinced that it wasn't real. Almost. And then I met him and my colleague Jeff Meldrum with the tracks that can't be faked. There were tracks that were actually cast after this Sasquatch was filmed. Tracks that show a mid-tarsal joint. Forget about it. You can't fake that in 1967. When I saw that and I had a few things explained to me by Bob Gimlin, I knew this footage was real. It's amazing. This footage has been through the ringer. Bob Gimlin has really helped me understand what it's... I mean, there's not too many people that can relate to me and what... Because Jeff Meldrum hasn't filmed the Sasquatch. John Benernagel hasn't filmed the Sasquatch. Les Stroud hasn't filmed the Sasquatch. They don't get ridiculed. They're not called liars and hoaxers and all this stuff. And Bob Gimlin has. Bob Gimlin's been through the ringer. I tell you, when he met me, he told me right straight, that's a real Sasquatch you filmed. I've seen one, and that's what they look like. And I got to spend time with him and hang out with him. I showed him the documentary, Discovering Bigfoot, all the best Sasquatch footage that I have. And in Bob Gimlin's opinion, a man who has absolutely definitively seen a Sasquatch, he says, my footage is real. I say his footage is real. We both say Sasquatch is real. And of course, there's tens of thousands of other people that can corroborate this. So let's gather evidence. If you know about Sasquatch, if you've seen one definitively, if you're willing to testify to that effect, if you have evidence, DNA, anything, go to sylvanic.com, send us an email. We're gathering evidence. We need all the help we can get because we are going to shake things up immediately. It's coming in the next 3 weeks now. So documentary's coming out and time to go shake it up. So in the meantime, enjoy this spectacular White Wolf production by Doug Hasek, starring my hero, Bob Gimlin. Enjoy.
The Patterson-Gimlin film is an icon to many Americans who believe in the existence of Bigfoot and to those who claim to have seen one.
And the massive bicep in the arm is, wide like that.
It has defied explanation since 1967.
And as it moved, you could see the muscles ripping in the thighs and the arms, even underneath that hair, you could see the difference in the movement.
Is it history's most clever hoax, or is it real?
When that creature disappeared, it disappeared up that drainage there.
Only one man alive knows for sure. Bob Gimlin, for he was there. He tells his story for the very first time on television tonight. Are these 952 frames of 16mm film footage the best evidence that there are huge man-like apes living in North America?
Usually don't see these type of movement amplitudes in walking.
More importantly, does this film have more to tell?
The legs walleye in and then kick outwards, walleye in and kick outwards. So the knees are going in and out, in and out. Very strange.
If this is a guy in some ape-like suit, he clearly is walking funny.
My parents were honest people, and I was raised to be honest.
Here you have a large muscle here, which is called the biceps, and more so the hamstring muscle group.
There was times when I really regretted that I was there and saw it because of the ridicule and because of my wife being upset at me and practically thinking about divorcing me because of the thing, you know, and the people saying they faked this and faked that, and you know, and it bothers a person.
Bob Gimlin was part of a two-man team that obtained one of the most controversial films in history on October 20th, 1967. Is Bigfoot a living, breathing species, or simply a legend? You be the judge.
When I saw this thing, it's almost unexplainable how I felt. I thought, you know, here I am. I've been here, but I'm tired, but this thing is real.
The Patterson-Gimlin film subject displays an interesting feature here, indicating that it's walking on very flat, flexible feet.
The 16mm film footage was not the only evidence of Gimlin and Patterson's encounter. A set of clear, deep footprints were cast and offered as evidence to corroborate the film subject's reality.
The footprints exhibit a very unhuman characteristic.
I got up on a stump, approximately 36 inches high, and jumped off with a cowboy boot on into the soil to illustrate how deep my boot would go in.
Animation expert Ruben Steindorf from Vision Realm will be able to recreate a perfect replica of the creature's foot in 3D animation.
Luckily, from the footage, they were able to get these casts in the same location, and so when I actually work on the feet, I'll be able to use these casts as a good point of reference.
When he's going through the leg swing, there is some outward rotation here.
Really don't think that back then they had the technology to pull something like this off.
Huge human-like footprints are found frequently in this area.
One thing that amazes me is that I'm seeing what appears to be an injury or hernia on the right thigh. And you can see it bumping out here. I just think this footage is so understudied. I mean, nobody has noticed that lump in over 37 years. I mean, it's been a long time, and I think that serious scientific analysis is finally warranted on this film.
We came around that tree, and this thing was standing right alongside the creek. It automatically started walking away as quick as I saw it. I wasn't a confirmed believer that these things really existed.
Bob Gimlin tells his amazing story for the first time on TV.
Roger had gotten a phone call. They'd put a water tank in up in the mountains where they were planning on building logging roads. And when they came back on Tuesday morning after Labor Day weekend, there was 3 different sizes of apparently Bigfoot prints is what they thought they were. And the time we left up there, it was the last part of September, and we ended in the Bluff Creek area. That's what we rode out of every day, then came back in the evenings.
Hey, let's head up to Bluff Creek.
The weather was great in October, like this is around here right now. Maple leaves and everything was turning as normal in October, you know, frosty, short nights. So Roger said, let's ride back up in some of them areas that we had covered before.
Found prints up there last week. Good.
We rode up that way, up that creek bed away from our camp, which was probably a couple of miles. As we came around a downfall tree with a root system in the dirt, like a crow's nest, logs jammed together. As we came around that, then, of course, the horses just blew up. And this thing was standing on the opposite side of the creek that we were on. It was massive. I would imagine it was thinking about crossing the creek. When I first saw it, it was not looking directly, I don't think, at me. And the commotion of trying to get the camera out of the saddlebags while his horse was jumping around. I was watching the creature and it was walking away. But I could see the face real good, and I could see the eyes. By the time we got the horses kind of settled down, and Roger got off with the camera, ran across the creek. Then Roger had the camera to his eye. Then he stumbled kind of and fell down on his knees, and then he got back up and he ran over to a log that was a little ways away and stabilized himself on the log. At that time, I rode across the creek on my horse and just sat over there. The creature makes a turn, slight turn with his shoulders and kind of looked back. That's when I rode across the creek on the horse. That's when it made that gesture while I was looking at it from the back. There were some trees or vegetation that was getting between Roger and the creature, and he wanted to get him. So he relocated, and when he did, he asked me if I would cover him, which meant get the rifle and see. There was no intent to shoot this thing at all. The creature just kept right on walking, and of course it went out of sight.
I ain't sure what I got. I ran out of film.
But the chase didn't end there. Patterson and Gimlin tracked the creature up the creek bed for miles.
And I kind of wanted to follow it on the horse and put film back in the camera. Then we went on and went the same direction that the creature went. We could see scuffs in the gravel. And then it went right up into the cliffs. There was no way you could ride there, steep mountain cliffs. Roger contacted me and wanted me to bring him and come down here. And so I couldn't do that right away. So I had a little ranch up there and had a few head of cattle, and so I had to get somebody to take care of them. So I did, and by the time we left up there, it was the last part of September.
For 7 days, they saw nothing. All that changed on October 20th.
Looking at this space as an animator and an artist, there's nothing really over the top about the features of it, and it doesn't really look like anybody had just, made it up. Pete Travers took this piece of footage and put it on a light table with backlit, and then actually sketched over it to work out some of the finer details here in the hair and the eyes. As you can see, it's a little bit more human-like and less monster-like without the facial hair, less of a monster.
In May of 2000, video expert and wildlife researcher Doug Hychek transferred the original film to high-definition television for added resolution. Hychek spotted a large lump on the creature's leg that had gone unnoticed.
After literally hundreds of hours of studying the Patterson footage, I noticed a bulge on the upper right quadriceps. I'm not a biomechanics expert, so I've sent it off to other biomechanics experts to look at. It's probably either some kind of morphology or pathology, meaning an injury. It looks suspiciously like a hernia. And as I loop the footage back and forth, I can see this bulge pop out and then disappear and go flat when the leg is straight.
Was it an injury or something else?
Here would be the quadriceps. It looks more like a well-developed muscle. And given the fact that we don't see a lot of knee locking, you would need these muscles. There's going to be a point in time during a gait where the left or the right leg supports the complete weight of the animal.
We're willing to stretch our frameworks to accommodate what we're hearing. But the other thing that fascinates me is how this relates to our stories of beginnings and what our ancestors had to tell us. If we go to Mesoamerica, to the Guatemalan story of beginnings of the Mayan tradition recorded in the Popol Vuh. In that document, we have an account that says that the human race was engineered from a primate ancestor by ET visitors to planet Earth in the distant past. That we and apes are together the result of a series of experiments in genetic engineering. Now, what is really intriguing about that, and the Popol Vuh is centuries old, is that Centuries ahead of Charles Darwin, the Mayans were relating us to apes.
What? He just stated that the Mayans were relating them to the apes. Them.
Not that we are descended from apes, but that we and apes have a common ancestor. And the result of these experiments, so the Popol Vuh says, is us plus a few ape-like creatures which live in the forest. That's the phrase that's used, a few ape-like creatures that live in the forest. Well, that is a very intriguing turn of phrase. Does that mean a few creatures or a few species? And certainly in recent times, our findings of hominins and hominids have made the picture far more interesting and plural and complex than ever we realized in the past. We have a far wider family that we're a part of than we were previously aware. So does it mean a few species? And when it says ape-like creatures that live in the forest, does it mean ape kind? Or does it mean a creature that is like an ape? Because in the Yowie, that's precisely what we're looking at. How closely might Homo sapiens and Yowies be related? Could they be the offshoot of the same experimentation that resulted in the human race? Is their reclusion from human society and their aggression towards humans who come close to them part of a far longer story in which Homo sapiens and their cousins have shared planet Earth? Actually be more of a threat than that. The Bible also hints at a genetic context for the man covered in red hair. There are close similarities in the Hebrew texts concerning Abraham and Sarah, the progenitors of the Hebrew tradition, and Brahma and Saraswati, the patriarch and matriarch of humanity, according to Hindu tradition. These similarities suggest that Abraham and Sarah of the Bible may in fact be far more ancient figures than we have ever imagined, as primordial as Adam and Eve. In the book of Genesis, Abraham appears following the total destruction of a previous civilization. He represents a fresh start for humanity. His name, Abraham, means the progenitor of many peoples. The name Brahma means the father of humanity. Abraham, Brahma, Sarah, Saraswati. Could these similarities suggest that Abraham and Sarah of the Bible may in fact be far more ancient figures than we have ever imagined, as primordial as Adam and Eve? In Genesis, a close encounter between Abraham and Sarah and 3 sky people, beings from another planet, results in a new father for humanity, Isaac, a son provided to Abraham and Sarah by artificial insemination. From Isaac's generation emerged 2 completely different kinds of people. The crafty and wily and ambitious hairless man, Jacob, preceded by a man who was as strong as an ox and his body covered with thick red hair, Esau. Jacob gets the upper hand and becomes the ruler by providing food to manage and pacify the red-haired Esau. Could these stories of 2 different kinds of people be the Bible's recollection of a succession of hominids resulting from E.T. intervention in the story of many peoples? Might the Bible and the Popol Vuh both be carrying an ancestral memory of how hairless Homo sapiens and the hairy people of our mythologies first appeared on planet Earth? And is there a memory of how Homo sapiens gained the upper hand? Do the Australian stories of the Yowie and the parallel narratives around the world
hint at a far more interesting story concerning the origins of humanity.
We gotta let him go. Harry?
I never got a chance to thank you. I don't think you'll ever know how much you've meant to us. You take care of yourself now, okay?
Okay.
Mon Dieu! They have a language?
What is it? It's the honor of God? What?
It's the glory of God
to hide
conceal.
To hide monsters.
To hide
in plain sight.
Forest monsters.
But it's
the honor of kings
to reveal them.
Please subscribe with notifications on.